The program in Maritime Studies is a historical archaeology focused program. So we do a lot of history and archaeological work. The maritime program specifically in underwater archaeology.
We came to Fort Fisher with the plan to look at artifacts that they'd brought up from the modern Greece wreck, inventory this collection of artifacts in a way that will let them get a handle on the number and type of artifacts that they have here associated with the modern Greece wreck.
We were taking material from the outdoor tanks that had been in storage since the 60s and trying to get a grip on what the collection entails and moving it to a better storage facility so that we could begin conservation in the future.
We knew that there was an unknown amount in these tanks that could number anywhere between 100 and 5,000 artifacts. We weren't sure what we were going to encounter when the project started. We started draining the tanks in the back, and we started to see lots of Enfield rifle stocks, pretty much in the way that they lay originally in crates. So it would have been rows of Enfield rifle stocks with spacers in these crates stacked on top of each other. The first guns we pulled off were gorgeous, individual rifles. And then we started getting to the rifle stocks that are concreted together, that kind of look the way that they would have been packaged on the vessel and then compressed during a shipwreck. So we started to see things that not only were indicative of regular cargo of a vessel, but also what happens to this cargo when it goes through something as violent as a shipwreck and the duration of time it's spent underwater. Maybe in one bucket we'd pull 100 or 200 small items out of them. One of, I think, my favorite of those types of things was a bucket that had probably 200 Bowie knife handles, hilts, silver cap pieces. Most of the handles were all antler and horn, gorgeous condition. And as we started to rinse them off and really see these blades and the silver starting to clean off, you just got to actually see these artifacts kind of unfold before you from the muddy murk of these backyard tanks.
We've had some time to get the system down into being able to record things quickly and get through the material and get it to a better storage location and understand exactly what we have from the modern Greece.
Conservation of these artifacts is so important because they really are in extremely fragile condition. And as conservation students, we're really looking for a situation in which we can have artifacts come from a waterlogged environment, a terrestrial in-ground burial environment, and eventually get them to where they can be shared with the public in a museum or put in storage for research. Those are the two ways that you can really give the public these artifacts, make it available for research or put them on display so that they can be of educational value to people. In order to help these things get to that end place, there's a starting point. And really that is the documentation, the record taking.
Being able to work on material that's from the Civil War, of his historical importance to especially the state of North Carolina and being from North Carolina and growing up, the Civil War, is a big part of our history, and just being able to interact with that material as well as get the experience in conservation needed for a future career in conservation is an incredible experience.
Every time we pull something out and look at an artifact, it just makes you stop for a second and think, how cool is this? I mean, it's the kind of thing you find amazing when you're a kid and the kind of thing you hope you get to do one day, and then you get a chance to come down here. And to some people, the idea of spending your spring break digging through a pit of mud doesn't, for no credit, for no pay, just to be able to do it does not sound exciting to some people, but for us, we jumped at the chance to be involved.
The modern Greece as a blockade runner was of great importance in determining how the war turned out. For context on the way in which Wilmington, the port of Wilmington, or the southern ports in general, were able to get through the war, were unable to get through the war. it's important to see the commercial nature behind the war, which is something you don't see in the history books.
There's something about hearing about what an Enfield rifle looks like and seeing one. There's something about, hearing about this is what a Civil War blockade runner would have carried, and then seeing it laid out before you. It really makes an impact. So I would hope that at some point all of these things get treated and get to be shared.
I think many of these artifacts belong on display for the public to bring across the story of the blockade runners and the modern Greece, and so that other people can appreciate the history involved.